Hello and welcome to all of our advising fellow leaders with the cohort of 2026. We are so excited to have you as a part of the team, and I'm excited to dive in to get you introduced to our orientation. So my name is Patrick. You all may have received some emails from me or heard from me in the past. I'm the Director of Advisor Recruitment here at Matriculate. I use he, they pronouns. You can see my contact information there. I always want to be a resource to each of you. I've been with Matriculate since 2017. We're going to get to know each other a lot more over the course of this next year. And my goal for this year is to help us build safe and engaged fellowships to provide access to education through our mutual support. Outside of Matt, you'll see me cooking and distributing harm reduction supplies and facilitating trauma-informed de-escalation trainings amongst, other life things. Excited to get you to know you all a little bit more over the next few weeks and months as well. So who are you? We have a lot of folks that are coming to lead this organization from across the United States. We have students from the California side all the way to the New York side and everywhere in between. I have been fortunate enough to be a part of the organization since we only had about 4 of these different institutions supporting. And now with the support of all of you as our student leaders, you drive this work so that we can continue to make sure that even more of our high school fellows get served every year. And we're really excited to have all of these different fellowships represented here as we go through this orientation today. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey. Before we dive into some more of the outline of how the orientation is going to go, it's really important for us to kind of let you know who is going to be a part of your leadership coalition. This year's class represents folks with different Matriculate leadership experience roles, also roles from other previous leadership experiences, and some of you are brand new to leadership. Some of you are former advising fellows, high school fellows, and returning leaders. We have a diverse array of backgrounds and identities and experiences, which we know are really critical to help shape our plans and ensure that we have an equitable and a diverse, inclusive fellowship at the end of our recruitment cycles. And ultimately, we just have a fantastic group of y'all. You have persisted through a bunch of application processes and interview processes with passion and grace. And each one of you are really excited to work with one another in order to achieve our goals for this coming year, which we'll talk about later in our orientation. So thank you so much for showing up and being here. So in today's orientation, we're going to keep it pretty quick. I'm just going to do an overview of what our leadership roles are, what our goals for this leadership training are, as well as the resources that will be available to you to help move through the summit and the orientation. And then we'll go over the timeline a little bit for that orientation. By the end of today's session, we're going to be celebrating you as we've already started. We'll be walking through the purpose and goals of this training and then identifying those resources, as I said. At the beginning of every session we do with Matriculate, we try to outline these goals and these in the outline of the session so that you can make sure that you can come back and follow along and take notes on these key topics. So, what is Matriculate leadership? So you've all been accepted into various roles. Some of you are head advising fellows, some of you are advising fellow leadership team members, and some of you are national advising fellow leadership team members. The advising fellow coordinators is a position that will come in later in the year, which will depend on how recruitment efforts go. But starting at the top, head advising fellows manage their leadership teams, recruitment campaigns, and engage your fellowship communities. They also manage and support advising fellows and the advising fellow leadership team to successfully advise those high school students throughout the year. The advising fellow leadership team, you are the ones that are owning and managing the implementation of our recruitment strategies. You'll be making sure that our recruitment efforts are sustainable so that we can build community and review candidates to support and strengthen the engagement through certifying quality advisors. And then the national leadership team, you'll be serving as recruitment leads and to support the head advising fellows in AFLT, both as a lead and a coach, as well as engaging in program improvement projects in the second half of your term. All of their national advising fellow leaders have previously held a leadership position with Matriculate, either as an AFLT member, as an HAF, or some of you as both. So they bring lots of experience to support head advising fellows and leadership team and our staff as we continue to make sure that our program is reflective of the needs of all of you. And then finally, this advising fellow coordinator role is a role that is supportive of head advising fellows once we move into the actual program cycle and managing AFs during their advising cycle. We will have coordinators if a campus that already has HAFs needs additional support in order to manage a larger group of advisors than we had anticipated at the beginning of the recruitment cycle for leaders. So for example, if we have 45 students get accepted at a campus that's in between our 30-to-1 ratio. So rather than just having one head advising fellow, you'll have an advising fellow and an advising fellow coordinator in order to support the management of those advisors throughout the year. But for now, the most important roles are head advising fellow, leadership team, and the leadership team roles. And we know we use lots of acronyms, so we tried to put them here just so that you can get familiar. Meanwhile, you also have the support of our central headquarters. So that includes recruitment leads, fellowship leads, and our student learning team. You're going to interact with us on different moments throughout your leadership roles at Matriculate, but recruitment leads are going to be your first point of contact with Matriculate, as well as the student learning team as we prepare for the summits. So the recruitment leads are mostly Matriculate staff, as well as NAFLT interns, who will be assigned to support each of your fellowships throughout the advising fellow recruitment and selection process. The fellowship leads then come in once we've selected those advisors to help ensure that they move through certification and that they are ready to be paired with students. So the fellowship leads are members of our full-time staff. They have experience with college advising, and they're on the advising fellow experience and impact team. They'll be also assigned similarly to recruitment leads to each fellowship to support that advising throughout your work with high school fellows. And then the student learning team are the members of Matriculate's full-time staff who will support you and your advising fellows throughout the training process for each of your roles. They'll also be leading the orientations and the certification process for all new advisors this coming cycle. So we'll have some different moments where each of these teams are point people, but as we move into this first round of the first part of your cycle, recruitment leads are going to be your first point of contact. All right, so what are our goals for this orientation and training? Our goal is for you to be able to identify the leadership skills, strengths, and growth areas that will help you succeed in your roles, that will help us continue to support you throughout your leadership experience. We'll continue to return to those so that we can provide additional coaching throughout the year. You will be developing community and trust within leadership teams across fellowships and with Matriculate staff. That's really critical in order to both get feedback about how the program is going for you, as well as making sure that candidates feel welcome and are ready to persist throughout the program. Finally, we're going to understand how your roles and responsibilities are essential to our critical mission, as well as to one another, and identify the program timelines, resources, and expectations that will support you all along your way throughout your journey with Matriculate as a student leader. As we go through training, generally you've seen this slide before, but whenever we're doing a webinar or training with Matriculate, it's really critical to us that we keep these norms and expectations in mind. So as we move through, flexibility and communication are essential. We have deadlines for a reason. There's a big group of over 100 leaders that we're moving through the certification process in order to get ready for our recruitment campaigns. But each of you are going to have different needs at different moments. It's really critical that you communicate those to us so that we can be flexible within reason. And without communication, we can't be adaptive for you. So please always continue to communicate with us throughout your tenure here at Matriculate. We also want to make sure that you consider yourself as co-creators and collaborators with the work that we do. Each leadership team will be working collaboratively to build a cohort, and this is a huge undertaking that requires a shared vision of what your Matriculate fellowship community can look like, and training will require intense collaboration between your team and your other leaders across the nation. Taking and receiving feedback. It's really important that you provide feedback. Feedback is an essential part of training and the Matriculate leadership experience as a whole. We ask that throughout your experience, you're open to giving feedback to your members of your team and to Matriculate staff. Orientation and certification for leaders is going to be a continued learning process. We're going to make some steps forward and some steps back, and the goal is for us to continue to move along the scale together. So if you need to reiterate something, let's pause and reiterate. We'll also ask that you reach out to staff immediately with any questions, confusion, conflicts, technical issues, or concerns so that we can be responsive. And then finally, training is going to be the first time where we ask you to provide direct feedback to us on your experience, and also to other members of your leadership team. So we ask you all to be open to receiving that feedback and also be brave and help us understand what lands with you, what doesn't, so that we can continue to make this program even more effective for future leaders and for you throughout your term. We also consider each one of us to be teachers and learners when we're in a space together. As a learner, we expect you to be actively engaged with the information being presented by taking notes, completing all the work and action items on time that's associated with each of our sessions. As a teacher, you're expected to connect with your peers and share your insights to provide responses to questions whenever possible during sessions or in between. And then finally, we all have growth areas, and everyone has knowledge to share, which is why we want to make sure that we're planning and we are staying persistent together. We've done our very best to organize this training with a mixture of independent and group work to create enough flexibility for you to engage. But we've also provided many resources to to help you keep track of your work and know what the expectation is at each moment. We're going to walk through a hub in a second that's going to show you which each of the sessions are and when the deadlines are for them. Please stay on top of your own schedule and communicate if you need additional resources or if anything comes up. We know that there's a lot of moving parts and elements to becoming a leader with Matriculate, and you've already gone through a lot of training as becoming an advising fellow. So please continue to stay engaged whenever we're together, and let us know if you need space or if there's more that we can do to help you stay engaged. All right. So let's talk a little bit about those resources that I've been referencing. So for each training, we're going to have pre-work, post-work, and resources. The resources and exercises are designed to check for your understanding and support your work. We'll be reviewing some of these in order to support your ongoing management. For example, we'll be asking you to reflect on goals and skills, ways that you want to engage with recruitment. We'll be going through those when we're together at the summit with the head advising fellows to help inform the structure of your plans and the strategy. So please make sure that you complete all of that exit work, and it'll just pull back all the reminders that we'll be sending you. So if you do them on time or early, then you won't be getting a bunch of outreach from us to complete. The online training is this first session, this first set of webinars that we're sharing with you today. This is the one that kicks us off. There's only 4 sessions in total, and they set the baseline expectations, context, and resources to give you a foundation for starting your roles. Then we'll have these live sessions. This is the summit that I've been referring to for NAFLT and HAFs. That will be the first weekend of August, and it'll be an immersive training weekend to practice, discuss, and problem solve key elements of the recruitment process, as well as get them set up to support AFLT as we move forward through the rest of August to get up to speed and ready on both launching our recruitment campaigns and making sure that we're prepared to start reviewing candidates and supporting candidates throughout the application process. And then finally, we're also going to have live team meetings. This is a really critical space for you all to start debriefing some of the content that you've been learning here together, as well as build more community within your leadership team to develop organized, values-driven recruitment strategies and to plan for the fall responsibilities and workload. It is so critical that you all rely on each other as a team, and where your teams are smaller, that you're also relying on staff to be able to support your work. This work is a long but short process. So it's important that you make it sustainable and that you're communicating your needs. And we know that relying on our community is the best way to make this work sustainable. So the way that you build community between your leadership team will also set the tone for future advisors. So please make sure that you take that time and do your best to try to connect with one another throughout the trainings. And finally, let's walk through this training resource hub that I've been referencing and where hopefully you found this orientation. So this is what your training hub will look like. This is just a mock version of what it will look like for head advising fellows in particular. Session 1, 2, and 4 are all the same for all leaders, and then you'll have a specific session for your roadmap. The way you'll review this is right now, this is session 1, so it's a little meta. You're going to review the expectations for that session. And then you can see some of the pre-work here. You'll be able to find the recording for the webinar that I'm actually recording right now here. You'll find the slides that we went over in this session, and then you'll see the exit ticket down at the bottom. Again, please complete these exit tickets. They're very critical for us to track. And then you'll also find additional expectations and next steps to complete before the next session. So as long as you keep this up and running and you check off all these boxes, then you'll be good. This is unfortunately not a personalized link, so we won't be able to keep track here. But if you just kind of keep track on your own on the back end, that will be the most helpful. Otherwise, you can always reach out to us if you're not sure if you finished the session. We can let you know on the back end where we're at. In the future, we'll have different systems, but this is how we're going to use our training for today. So that is the big hub. As we move through the orientation process, we're also going to continue to come back here. This is where we're going to host all the sessions from the summit that are live. We'll put all that content here as well. We'll also be uploading all of the training to become a certified reviewer of candidates into here. And then we might continue to use this hub throughout the year if this is a helpful way for us to disseminate information and that's something that you all find helpful. All right. And with that, I'm going to give a quick overview of this training timeline. So right now we're in this first box, online training. This is aimed to be completed by August 1st. We say it's about 3 to 5 hours. That depends on how quickly you watch these webinars and how long it takes you to do the exit tickets. The exit tickets are fairly short, but they are reflective. Then you are all expected to have your first full AFL meeting before August 1st, which is about an hour, mostly getting to know each other and getting prepared for head advising fellows to meet with staff during the summit. And then head advising fellows and NAFLT will be meeting with us from August 2nd to August 4th to complete our orientation. And then we'll be coming back together in later August for us all to keep coming to reflect on the summit time and then to make sure that all leaders are ready to start implementing and planning for the recruitment cycle. This August period is going to be really critical to us because some of your fellowships will be starting school already. And the most important part of recruitment is getting into those activities fairs and those club fairs at the beginning of the year. So if you know that you're starting school earlier and in August, please start making efforts towards booking those tables so that we can hit the ground running when we complete our summit and the first weekend of August. And that's it. As next steps, we will go back into the training hub, look and see what we have to do next. It looks like we have an exit ticket. Come in here. If it loads, sorry for the delay. We'll come in here, you'll search for your name, and then fill out our exit ticket. And once complete, you'll submit, and then we'll get it on our back end, and you can move straight to the next one. All right, y'all. Thank you so much, and looking forward to seeing you soon.